One of the first things we talked about in this course was opportunity cost. Doing one thing means you lose the chance to do something else. This applies to a big decision that most people have to make. How much education should you get? In our video on LeBron James going straight to the NBA from high school, we did a quick analysis to show that for people who didn't have LeBron's amazing skills, going to college makes sense. The reason is that if you have a college degree, you make more money down the road. But one of the last things we talked about in this class was how we shouldn't confuse correlation and causation. Sure, people who stay in school longer make more money. But do they make more money because they stayed in school longer? That's a very tough question, because people who stay in school longer tend to be different from the people who didn't. Sometimes people drop out of school because of family emergencies, or because they have to start making money to help their family or themselves. In contrast, people who stay in school longer generally come from families with higher incomes and get better grades and so on. Maybe these students who stay in school make a higher income, not because they went to school, but because of these other factors. How can we figure out whether actually going to school longer raises income? We need to find an experiment. Some situation where people who were otherwise the same randomly stayed in school longer. Economists have found one such situation: compulsory schooling laws. In the middle of the 20th century, Britain and the United States passed laws saying that you had to go to high school until age 16. What's interesting for economists is that the laws only applied to people born in a certain year. So consider two people, one born on January 1st of the year the law goes into effect, and one born just one day before on December 31st. These people are very, very similar, born just one day apart. But the one born one day later had to go to school until they were 16, and the one born one day earlier could drop out at any time. By comparing both groups, we could see the effect of taking very similar people and making one group go to school longer. And some studies have done just that. There were two findings. First, the compulsory schooling laws worked. People born slightly later, so that the law applied to them, were more likely to stay in school until age 16 than those born slightly earlier and could avoid the laws. The second finding speaks to our question from earlier. It turns out school does pay. If you were born slightly later, and as a result were more likely to stay in school an extra year, you ended up making more money, even compared to someone a lot like you who happened to be born slightly earlier. That is, the extra education that you get by being forced to stay in school pays off in higher earnings. So the lesson from the beginning of this class is the same. Unless you're LeBron James, you'll probably make more money by staying in school.